Perfect.
We might have to pan out. Okay. Let me just. I had a thing of. Here, come check it out.
Okay.
It's fine. I feel like we could just scoot it over. I mean, yeah, but don't you do it here? If you want to stand right, I don't really care. It's not a big deal that I'm on it, it's more just that they can hear me. But yeah, move it once the speakers take the stage. Yeah. Oh, okay, I'm just making sure people don't like that. Okay, folks, we're gonna.
All right, folks, we're gonna get started in a minute. Also want to make sure that our friends online can hear us. Can someone enter in the chat? We can hear you, or give a reaction that we can see. Yeah, they can hear us.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna use this to a quick link.
Okay.
land.
Any more microphones?
Yeah, let's have the other two ready to go.
Check.
Do you want to hand them? And then after we do the land acknowledgement? No.
Well, hello, everyone. It is working. Hello, how's everyone doing? Happy Pride. Welcome to tonight's panel conversation. Obviously, we have some very influential people up here. We have some of you in the audience. Thank you so much for coming to this event to meet new people, to have insightful conversation. We are obviously here. My name is Lalwani. I'm an entertainment reporter at What's Trending and podcaster for a podcast known as The Pop Report. I do talk about a lot of conversations all across the internet, ranging every single day. But I want to introduce our panelists for tonight. So
Just real quick, sorry. So sorry. So we're actually starting with a land acknowledgement this evening. So
take it away.
Okay. Yeah. But okay, so first we'd like to take this time to recognize Indigenous and Two-Spirit people who make up our QT-BIPOC communities and are often overlooked. And we'd like to acknowledge the Native Indigenous people on whose ancestral homelands we live, meet, and work. House organizes and gathers on Gabrielino, Tongva, and Chumash land. They're the original caretakers and stewards who collaborated in harmony with respect to the balance of Mother Earth, and whose traditional unyielding homeland we now occupy. As Mona Morales Recalde, member of the Gabrielino Tongva San Gabriel Band of Mission Indians, has said, even issues around housing and food uncertainty did not exist pre-contact. We celebrate Indigenous people, cultures, and arts, and we take moments to pause and reflect on how Indigenous folks are often ignored, marginalized, and removed from history and awareness as a consequence of colonial acts. This isn't just a land acknowledgement, though. It's also an address to anti-Indigenous racism, colonization, and genocide. House supports the land back movement and justice and liberation for all. Our hope is this event helps us all find ways we can stand together against inequities and prevent painful histories from repeating themselves. We also come together to heal ourselves in the land, air, and waters, along with the extended family of living beings that sustain us. You can use 2 QR codes from our slideshow to take action with and follow our Gabrielino, Tongva, and Chumash siblings. And now I'm going to pass it to Haas for a quick hello from House.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks, Christy. So good evening. Welcome to House 2024. So we're so thrilled to have you here in this amazing space to celebrate these incredible QTBIPOC creators. So while brands and companies have pulled back their investment in Pride, we're disappointed, but we're not surprised. We know it's our community that truly represents the full spectrum of Pride. This month, we are also celebrating the 4th anniversary of House, which was launched in June 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic and soon after the horrific murder of George Floyd. While official Pride events were canceled that year, our community found ways to gather safely and virtually. Inspired by ballroom culture, House celebrates chosen family and intentional creation of safe spaces. I started House to address the challenges QT-BIPOC folks often face, being underestimated, overlooked, and sometimes actively blocked. Through community conversations, it became clear that there was a need for House. Since then, we've grown into a dynamic collective of over 2,000 folks globally, all dedicated to advancing their careers, fostering inclusivity, and advocating for equality within society and corporate spaces. House is entirely volunteer run. It is truly a labor of love, and we hope to grow with your support. A huge thanks to Christy, to Devin, to the entire TBWA LA team for making this event possible. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce Andy. Andy Lalwani, our moderator for the evening. Over to you, Andy. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, first of all, for the team for House organizing this. We could not hear anything back there. We thought that whole discussion had happened, but very, very important things that were mentioned. Obviously, very happy to have you all here tonight for this great discussion. We were having some insightful conversations actually before we came out here, but before we get into our discussion, I'd love for each person on the panel to introduce themselves.
Hello. Hi, I'm Pink Ninu. I'm a drag artist slash influencer slash the head of social media at a nonprofit called the Trans Latina Coalition. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Soy. I'm a creative director, podcaster, just all around creative, honestly. Happy to be here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kelechi, Kalu, he, him. I am an indie pop songwriter here in Los Angeles from Orangeburg, South Carolina, and I also am one of the lead strategists at Disney-Freeform.
Very wide range of people on this panel I get to interrogate and have a conversation with all of you at the same time. Obviously, we are in Pride. We are deep in Pride. There's been a lot that's happened this month. Obviously, there's been a lot of events going on. a lot of social happenings, a lot of things that we're also being more observant of this month. Obviously, there's new things talked about with our communities. There's new things that happen every year around Pride, both good and bad. That being said, my first question to start us off for the night are, what would you consider your ins and outs of Pride this year so far? Ins are, we want to keep this going. We love this. Our outs are like, it needs to go. It needs to be done.
Okay, I guess I'll start. Let's see. My ends, showing up as you are. Okay, I feel like we get caught up in like, have to look a certain way, act a certain way. Show up as you are. Let's really remember what Pride is really about. So if that means not showing up sometimes, that's also okay. Like, it's okay. However that looks for you. So that's my in. It's the outs. Outs. All right, thank you. My guy in the back there, he's like, put that thing up. Okay. Outs. It's hard for Pride. I don't know. Expectations. Out.
I'm like, I gasped audibly. Okay, so out, gaff chafing, the chafing of the tucking out. Just throw it out away. You know, let the bubble come, fucking run wild, honey. Totally in espresso martinis.
Okay, I'll get behind that.
Absolutely in. Also in fucking taking in your brethren, fucking taking in being prideful. I think it takes a lot for someone to just be out and about as a gay person, as a trans person, and to celebrate yourself and to live authentically you. That sounds like a JC Penney ad, but it's real. Like for someone to, you see someone being visibly like trans or visibly gay, that takes a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of effort, you know, a lot of bravery. And it's not one isolated incident that made them into that person. You know, it's a whole timeline, a whole saga for that person to exist in front of you in that moment. So I think just live. Yeah, but yeah, those are my ins and outs.
Love.
All right. I'd say out the two prides that happened back to back. I hope that they can figure out, you know, whatever the issue, not whatever the issue is, because I think we know what the issue is, but I hope there can be some reconciliation. And I only say that because I do think that it kind of splits the community. And I think that they are, especially now, we kind of need each other and we need each other's kind of resilience. So that's an out for me. In being the voice for someone else who may not have a stronger voice or have a shoulder, or just being a foundation for your queer brothers and sisters and sisters and basters, all that. So
Amazing. Thank you so much, all of you, for sharing. I know some of the ins we can all relate to. Espresso martinis. I'm gonna sit with that in. Some of my outs too. Sometimes there's a lot of social pressure that comes with Pride. Sometimes you're like, I just want to hang and like be with my homies and do my thing, sit in a backyard. I don't want to excessively drink. And so sometimes, yeah, it has been like a range of things we've seen for Pride. You're like, do I want to spend money right now? Do I want to do this right now? No, I just want to be happy where I'm at. That being said, pivoting to a more positive note, as Pride has been progressing every year, and obviously we have gotten older every year, and sometimes maybe some of us experience more Prides. Some of us are still experiencing Pride for the first time. What is it like when Pride comes around for you? What feelings do you get?
I'm always exhausted, and I'm exhausted thinking about it, not because it's bad or anything like that, but because I work in an industry where my work is um, it is fused with the commercialized notion of what Pride is, and then trying to be authentic, but I'm also performing during Pride, but then also like going to Pride. There's just so much going on, but I think it's exhaustion in the best way. And I'm just like I was telling them earlier, I'm all prided out at the end of June. And I'm like, great, I felt it. I felt the Pride, girl. July is my like cocoon stage. Um, so, but I think it's a privilege to be exhausted from too much pride, right? I think that's something that I didn't get to experience before I came out years ago. And I also feel really happy because I see a lot more younger people um, celebrate pride in their way. And I didn't have the chance to do that at all growing up in South Carolina. And growing up, I'm first generation Nigerian. So like that wasn't really a thing. So I say exhausting, but I think it's also elation too, right? And happiness. I'm generally not like the most jovial person, so it's like it's a lot for me, but I'm rolling with it.
Andy, can I just get that question one more time? All right,
Yeah. You want me to use in a sentence? No.
go ahead.
Just what feelings do you get now that Pride comes around for you every year as you get older? What kind of feelings like do you feel?
I think it's a lot of excitement. I used to have to sneak to go to Pride in high school, like real bad, because I was just like, I have to go. But as I get older, some people think like it gets kind of tired doing the same thing, but I find I do different things now. So I have two little ones with my wife, and now we're really big on like making sure that they have super high visibility. Like we make sure that they're with us. We don't have to put them in rainbow head to toe, but they like love the experience. They love seeing everyone and being around. Like I just never want it to be a thing where they're not familiar with their community. And however their lives go and their journeys, continue, they're always going to be allies just based off, them being our kids.
Do you want to be repeated?
No. I mean, I feel like that's such a loaded question because there's so many nuances. Like, I mean, in this day and age, like pride is a whole different animal than it was like 5 years ago, you know? We have come so far. So let's just flowers for that. Thank God, you know? But I mean, I think the thing I most get excited for is the community aspect of it and just seeing all of my people. I use quotations because, there's always the picketers out there just vibing. Just just Jesus will save. Did he save you? Did he save you from buying those Doc Martens that you found from Marshalls that don't really look like Doc Martens? Like, um, but yeah, I mean, just seeing like the fanfare around Pride. I mean, yeah, you can get prided out. I'm right there with you. But it is such this big elaborate thing, all the parades and all of the coming togetherness of it all. So that's really exciting.
Do you all have any like memories of your first Pride, whether it was good or bad, like what that was like versus now? And do you ever like reflect on that time of attending Pride or doing something prideful?
Do you know what Daisy Dukes are?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so I had a pair of team boots on and a little sickening fishnet tie. Oh, I felt so comfy, so fishy. And my tuck pop. So I had a little, what we're gonna call it, a disco ball hanging out for the whole Pride. We put a little glitter on her and we just we pride it out. You gotta, when in doubt, pride it out. So I think that's my first experience. But it was in New Orleans, and I had a bunch of new friends around me, and I felt very safe. So I didn't find out till like maybe 6 to 7 hours later.
Really?
Yeah.
You made the best of it though.
Yeah.
Disco ball, right? Let's see. So like I said, I had to sneak to my first Pride. Definitely had to lie and say I was going to a movie, a matinee, I think, or something. And had to pretend I was going to the mall, still in high school. Parents dropped me off at the mall. So my adrenaline was just going crazy. And I would think I was just taken back by everything. I was like, it was just so much to like take in, but I just never felt more at home and like felt like I could really be myself. Like, back in high school, it's like I have to dress a certain way to even get permission to go to the movies. I'm first generation West Indian, so you don't It don't exist, okay? We don't talk about it and it doesn't exist. You're a little boyish a little bit. But so for me, that was probably my first memory of pride, just like trying to sneak in and successfully doing it. I had my little brother covering for me, being like, oh yeah, we're at the movies. We're not at the movie. I'm in the streets at Pride, living my best life. So yeah, that's probably my fondest memory.
I don't know if I can remember my first Pride because I think it was a lot drunk during my first Pride. But I do remember a moment, my first like very proud moment. I was working for a very big denim retailer based here in Los Angeles. They're, they're, and this was the year of where we lost our dear family in Orlando. And I remember I was working in brand marketing there, and I suggested that it was very small, but I suggested that we change one of the monikers on the logo to a rainbow just to show our support during Pride, right? I remember having to write the CEO a letter and then reading it to him, going to his office, reading it to him, and then leaving the office and just crossing my fingers and hoping this was something that the CEO of this company would say yes to. And when we got the green light, it sounds small, but it was such a huge thing for me because I was like, well, I can't talk about like living authentically and like all this other stuff. And I'm gonna be afraid to even stand up to people that I work with every day and talk about something that's really important to me. And from there, the company then went on to do pride activations and then started donating to queer organizations. And so I would like to say that I was the catalyst. But I still have to say it only takes, a spark. And that was my spark then. And I think that I've started to live my life out loud even more since that moment.
Snaps for that. Yeah. Pride is obviously like sometimes people have their first Pride experience and it's, not what they hoped. And they have other insightful moments throughout their years of being prideful. For me, my first one was I was a photographer for DC Pride and I signed up on a whim in college. I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Sounds fun. And I got to run the streets with a camera. And I just remember all these photos I took. I was like, I'm just having fun. I'm just glad I get to take photos of like people I look up to and like respect. And later on, I didn't think that would lead me to too much. But when obviously Pulse happened, I was asked to then participate and do media for Orlando Pride, which was a very big year after obviously that incident had happened. So there are very much times I've always felt prideful or looking back at when I felt like the most pride in like my work and my passion. And sure, like I can be with my friends. I was like, I get to like live and show people what it's like, just to be like, living my life, doing my thing. That being said, let's talk about the conscious choices you all make with your identities and so much where we talked about a lot of our paths and we touched on it just a bit. Obviously, Kelechi, you just brought us a very insightful moment. How have your identities impacted a lot of the work that you are currently doing when it comes to the spaces you're in?
So I think for me, my background is in architecture and design, and it's a very white male dominated space. So a lot of the times it's just me being in the room. I know that a lot of people that look like me don't really get a chance to be at the table or have the conversations. And for me, it's just showing up as myself. I think what makes us unique is that we have so many different paths and backgrounds that once we enter a space, they may think they have something figured out, or they may not even understand from a different point of view how things could be different. So when I have my uniqueness and my different point of view, I feel like they're like, oh, how did you get to this? And it's like because I didn't grow up having everything, or I didn't, I had to go through adversity. So at the end of the day, I feel like that in a way really impacts my day to day, even without me trying. It's what I am able to produce creatively. I really just make sure that I'm showing up as authentically as I can, because for a long time I couldn't. I had to really play a role. And now in my adulthood, I don't care anymore. Straight up, I don't care. It's like, take me as I am, accept me for who I am, or move on. So that's it.
I do the social media for the TLC, and I I've only so I'm she her, by the way. Hey, hey, trainee here. I've only been trans for about 2.5 years. And a lot, and I'm from Louisiana. Hey, this house, hey. uh, and being trans is just like not is just not an option, really. Um, so the representation that I saw were very very scary representations, something that I didn't want to see myself as, and I was honestly transphobic for a good little bit of my life. And I didn't know what transphobia was. I didn't know what homophobia was and anything like that. So whenever I finally like came to that conclusion to start living my life as a woman, that was like a really rough patch for me. And that was like looking in the mirror every day. I was just so, it felt so tragic. And any media I saw of trans women, it was like just the craziest synthetic wig, of grown out beard, and like a red lipstick. And that's not every trans experience. That's not, it might be some, and that gives for individuals, like I mean that's kind of like, sickening, whatever. Um and I just didn't want to make a mockery of myself or like my family and all of that stuff. So all that's to say that whenever I got the job at TLC, I made it a point to highlight trans lives and celebrate, even if they pass. It's not all doom and gloom. It's good to be here, to appreciate your time here, to appreciate the life that you're living. Because I mean, we get up every morning and we go to sleep every night. We eat food, we expel it, we breathe in and we breathe out. And sometimes we take all of that for granted. And I feel like highlighting that as a trans person is extremely important, and celebrating it. Let's celebrate that, let's celebrate that. Um, and I just want to show the trans experience in like a very light, fun way, because it's not always portrayed like that in media. And I want to be the pioneer, or the starter of trying to just make it seem like we're fucking people. We're just people. We just vibing. We just here. We don't want no trouble. We don't want no smoke. We just out here, and we trying to pay our bills, and we're trying to live our life, and just like anybody else.
No, I remember the question. No, I'm going to speak from the singer's songwriter perspective. So when I first moved here, I was in a boy band, and I was in a boy band. I was on a TV show, and after being in that boy band, after being on the show, we got kicked off the show, but we got signed, and we were assigned to one of these big labels over here, and we were told there were two queer people in the group, and we were told to act straight, whatever that meant, right? And after about a year, um, the other queer person in the band, who's one of my best friends now, we went to the PR team at the label and we said, "Hey, what if we, what if we came out?" And they were like, "No, it's gonna ruin your," like, gave us this whole rundown about how it was gonna ruin our career and how could we be so careless and all this other stuff. Well, the band was dropped from the label not because of us, but because we just couldn't hack it, I guess. And that really took a toll on me and like just my artistry, well, my budding artistry. And so I ended up quitting music for about 5 years, and then I started writing music on my own. And I started writing music from my experience and from my like career experience. And I specify that I'm an indie pop artist and not an R&B artist. And that's because on the other side, being a black male in this industry, you're always regulated to, you have to sing R&B, you sing R&B and blah blah blah. And I didn't see a lot of Black male pop artists getting any just due. And so I was like, well, why can't I be that? And then it was like, well, the only pop male artists who are like popping off, who are queer, are like Sam Smith and Troye Sivan. And I was like, well, why can't I do that? And then after I told myself that I could do that, I released my very first like pop song, and it like went viral on its own before TikTok and all that other stuff, right? And so I was just like, okay, well, I guess this formula's working. Let me keep being me. And the next song did well, and the next song did well, and then I opened for Muna in Years and Years, and then I opened for Haley Kiyoko. Like, it's just worked out being me, and then you come to hear other people have been looking for people like you. And once you like, for me, I just understood like my story is someone else's story too. Someone else who looks like me and has maybe not lived my exact experience, but is living some of these experiences. And I write love songs. I write songs about like fun. Queer people love love. Queer people love fun. Queer people love being messy.
Some martinis.
Okay. And so I just felt like, my queer experience is an experience that should have its voice heard too. And that was validated by other individuals who enjoy the art that I make now. So
Can we get some snaps for this panel? Like, of people. I mean, we don't realize how many conscious decisions we make in our day-to-day lives of just, the cards we are dealt as QTPOC people. Sometimes obviously we're like, I'm in it and I'm just gonna do best what I can and like figure out that path. There is no handbook. I think that's the thing that everyone forgets is like, oh, we expect better. It's like there is no handbook to live life as that person to carry on. So, in my field, for example, like I refer to it as silly bitch news because I work in entertainment news. And it's like, ha ha ha, relationships, so fun things. There's serious stuff that happens and people get really big platforms. And it's like, as a mixed race person, who I'm Indian, like, again, don't see a lot of people like myself online. And you're like, okay, cool. Selectively, what stories are we trying to make sure that we're not like just highlighting stuff that's not going to move the needle or like, we've seen this before. Oh, another breakup. Cool. Like, is this news? Is this what we want? Is this what the public wants? Like, so it is consciously like, and indirectly, we make decisions based off our identities and how we see each other and see ourselves. When in my field too, someone's taking a conversation with an LGBTQ plus person, and I'm like, what about me? Do you want me to talk to that person, or like, what are we doing? We're doing this dance. But kudos to all of you. Much kudos. That being said, we're obviously at the tail end of this Pride. We have a few more days left in June. I was like, what month is it? Now, we've seen a lot of things come in and out of Pride over the years. I'm not sure if you all specifically have a key moment of like a brand that does something really well or done something really bad, but can you think of anything that really stood out to you on the brand perspective over the years of Pride? It can be good, it can be a misstep, anything that comes to mind.
So the thing that happened with Dylan Mulvaney, like last year, that was so wild because it's like every single brand that even the conservative ones, they'll put their hat in that little rainbow capitalism vibe, and I feel like they did that and they thought they weren't gonna get no flag, but they did not realize how hated Miss Dylan is, and instead of like being 10 toes down, they were like two, and they were like, oh no, that was like a joke, that was like a silly like one-off thing, ha ha ha, like that was we were just being like silly goofy, like babe, no. And I think if you're gonna advocate, don't be like put your hat on the table and then the second that it starts raining a little bit you snatch it. Like, no, let that bitch get wet, you know.
Yeah, and then example two, Bud Light partnered with Dylan Mulvaney, and when obviously things were going on, Bud Light kind of pulled the rug under and said, look, we're losing a lot of money on this. And Dylan Mulvaney publicly came out and said, look, if you weren't going to support me, then I would have never done this partnership.
Exactly. And so I just, yeah. And in the past, when So basically for Pride, like I used to get a lot of offers because I am POC and I do drag, and that was my content online mainly. So Pride was like my little, ooh, that's like, I just know I'm getting some money in, bills getting paid, it's gonna be cute. But I mean, like the last couple of years, like it's dwindled so much, and I feel like people are so selective. And if you don't have this like extremely positive, extremely active fan base, then you're like basically nothing. And they will throw you away. They will not support you. They won't. And it as a person of color and queer, it has been an extremely interesting experience navigating the last like 24 months as an influencer, mainly as my income, and just waiting. It's been a lot of just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And sometimes the sun don't come up, Annie. The fuck is that about, bitch? um, and yeah, I mean, I hope for better days, but I feel very scared for the new generation that this was like their only option, and they can't pivot. They're not able to pivot. Um, Ooh, that got dark. There you go.
Thank you. No, I think it needed to get dark a little bit. I know for a while, I think it was like the Pride propaganda. Everyone was like, yes, every company is like, change the logo on everything, make it Pride, make it rainbow. And they would do we have a budget of X, Y, and Z, and it's gonna go to this many creators. But if you're not top, like you're flowing to the top of the creators, sometimes they just want to say they did it. They just want to say that, yeah, I did a pride thing this year. So we are not, homophobic and stuff. But in reality, it's like when you do get something, and this is to no matter what kind of creator you are, if you're a micro creator, a bigger one, don't take that first offer. Don't take it. Guaranteed, they have at least 5% on top of whatever it is they're trying to offer you that first time. And if you do not ask for it, you will never get it. We don't get to see the other side of the budget. We don't ever see how many people they even are asking or fishing in these emails. So me personally, if I see an offer come through, I'll always be super gracious, of course, because at the end of the day, it doesn't fall short on me that I am privileged to be able to do things like this. And the following that I've built online, people do engage very well with what I post. So I'm always grateful for the opportunity, but it has to come with respect. And if that number isn't a respectable number, or they're just putting it to say that they did it, it's not okay. And I think more people it's almost like a scarcity mindset at this point, that since I'm only going to get 3 this month, instead of the 10 I used to get 3 years ago, they're willing to take a lot less. But it's like you really have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself in the long run. Like you can't just take anything. You have to make sure that you're stand on business and make sure that you're looking out for yourself. Um, and again, some of the brands are better than others, as you can kind of see it online. If you look at their page and you're the only thing that's about to be a collaboration this month for Pride, well, you know what that means. So yeah.
To the question of brands that have done interesting things, I'm trying to be like a professional since I work in this industry, but also say something that everyone probably saw. I think it was last year or the year before when Burger King did the ad, and it was like, you can have a Whopper your way because you're living like your way, and it was like 2 patties, like at the top, like take the tops because these are the top, or like the 2 buns. It was like you can have the 2 tops of the buns as your burger because you're. I'm not kidding.
I remember
I'm
this.
not kidding. This
Yeah.
actually happened. Yeah. And I was like, oh, and so just breaking down how that works though, because people think, oh, someone at Burger King was like, oh, like people always say it's an intern who came with. No, 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 that's not how this works. So what Burger King would do is, I'm not sure they did this, but I'm assuming they did. They go out to an agency. Agency comes to them and says, they give them a brief. They're like, hey, we want to do something for Pride, out of the box. An agency will come back and present them with several different ideas. And then the people who are in the marketing team of Burger King will then review those ideas. And then they will say, this one right here, that's the one that we should execute on. And we should go back and tell the agency that they should execute on that. So the breakdown in communication throughout all that is that tells you that someone at the agency there aren't that many queer people at the agency to suggest that. And then there aren't many queer people in the room at Burger King to say that's a problem and that's a problem. That's one. But as a queer person at a company, I actually led the strategy for Hulu's Pride this year. And one thing that we thought was we wanted to be really thoughtful about Pride and not necessarily make it about modification of Pride. And being from Orangeburg, South Carolina, just like you said, you had to sneak out for Pride, right? We looked at data and we found that it's basically rural people don't have access to Pride celebrations. And so we brought Pride to rural communities by broadcasting LA and WeHo Pride through our platform to individuals who were just in the community. So if you were at home and you just wanted to like steal away to your corner of your house and just watch it that way, because that's how a lot of kids really consume queer media. We just thought bringing Pride to those communities in our way was the better way for us to use our kind of like tendrils. So that was my strategy and brainchild this year, and I was really happy.
That was a great one too, like a great notable. I'll give some honorable mentions of like some that were like you were there but you slightly missed the mark. I think last year was the year that Uber Eats did their like bottom friendly menu, and I think it just got trolled more than anything.
It was helpful though.
Was it? Did you find a new restaurant? For who was this?
I heard that it was helpful.
You heard. Okay. You know, I thought about trying it just to see what was on the menu, being like, what did you pick? But I never actually got to look through that menu. But I was like,
bottom friendly.
Okay, I've heard. I
Soluble
sourced this
foods.
confirmed. I think another honorable mention is sometimes like the pride parades that come out and they're like, "Hi, gay, come march with us." And I'm like, "That's fine, but like, you want me to wear a Rainbow X branded shirt and say I love your company? You're not paying me to be here, but you want me to like tell my friends and like come to the parade and like chivalrize with your staff and like be like kind of like on display a little bit." So it's like I understand where you're trying to come from, but like you missed the mark, babes, a little bit. Like I think the rainbow washing has gotten like very, very big over the years, where it's now if you are not someone in the queer community and you don't have like a bucket of white t-shirts with X logo rainbow, you haven't had your like gay passage, I guess. But it's just it's so much sometimes you're like, I'm not gonna wear this. This is a one-time shirt, or this is you want a fan, you want a this, and it's like, can I just have like some money so I can go get my bottom friendly meal? Like it's just you're like, okay, I understand you're trying, but it's a lot of this. Why are we doing this again? Like, why are we still gonna do this? And so that's a good example with Hulu, though. Like, I do remember that, like, the broadcast of people just not having accessibility to certain things. There's even titles that have come out. You said snaps. Titles that have come out to platforms. And I think, just getting that availability for people, whether we're talking about sneaking out or going to parade, some people can't even do that. It's like, how do I get my resources? How do I see what's happening on places like TikTok or like my neighbors and how they celebrate? Does anybody have in the audience any honorable mentions of missed the mark or bads or goods of brands?
Boom, quiet.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, good example. And other notable good examples is I'm not sure if anybody travels or is a travel pay attention when they're boarding the planes. Delta has been sneaking in very, very eloquently sometimes there's queer couples in there and they're just enjoying a flight together. And on these imageries of like, you know, castings, there's also like, we are looking for real couples. We're not looking for like gay for pay, like you can be in this commercial ad. Like they're actually looking for real people outside of Pride. And it's just like, we just want to show you that you're on the plane and that you are a customer and that you actually do use Delta Airlines. So
And as a customer, it's in those moments where I'm like, I feel comfortable on a Delta flight, so I'm gonna buy another Delta
yeah,
flight.
and they're rated very well up there for
They
like
are.
the equity report, and like Hilton, other brands are like up there for just very inclusive companies. And it's like, okay, it's not just June, it's July, August, like
Exactly.
going on and on and on. That being said, what else can companies do to support QT-pop, like people in general outside of Pride and like throughout the rest of the year?
So they could stop canceling shows that have queer leads, queer and BIPOC leads. So I no longer work for this company, but I used to work for one that had a queer competition show. I did all the strategy for that one, and it was we thought it was going to get another season, and it didn't, and it was the highest rated season for that show. Um, and I had worked on several queer focused shows at that company, and most of those shows are no longer there today. And for someone who we talk about like being queer and BIPOC creators, but we also want to see creations that have come from us or stories, you know, about us, stories that don't necessarily show us in like a destitute and downtrodden, like that is real. And those stories should be told, they should be on television or should be in music or should be at tech conferences. And a lot of, I feel like recently there's been kind of a desert of that content. And so I'm hoping that within this political climate, out of distress does come order. And so hopefully we get to the other side of whatever's happening now, and we're able to kind of ring our bell again and allow others to feel comfortable to be right there alongside with us.
Absolutely.
Um, I think to you being a strategist, it's amazing to hear kind of, your background and how you've implemented so many different things. It starts from within the company, in my opinion. If you don't hire diversely, if you don't seek out these individuals that are going to have a different opinion, are going to have an idea that could potentially propel you past heights you ever thought possible, it won't happen. It won't happen. The stories won't be told. The lens that everyone's viewing the company through will not change. It'll just stay exactly the same. So it really starts from within the company. If there's not that, I know that there's been a lot of debate about whether or not DEI is needed in a lot of these spaces. And it's like, who said that we were done? Who said that we got there? We're not there. Even with the strides that we've made, we're not there yet. And I think it really is just making sure that it's a continuous work. It's continuously working. It's continuously getting to the point where not just stories are heard and things like that, but people feel comfortable in the space to where, to Delta's commercial, you're seeing someone on the screen, you're like, yeah, they're just living life. That's just so normal. But to someone in a rural area, they'd be like, that's okay. They're on a plane together. Yeah. And it's like just little things like that. But really, these companies have to look at it past Pride, past June, and just make sure that they're doing the work within first.
So I'm gonna piggyback off of that. Also, you have lived so many lives. Goodness gracious. All these brands are, well, yeah. All these brands are non-binary and nameless. I said, okay. All right.
We
Trying to keep these contracts, honey. Anyways, um, but yeah, to just uh, showcase the queer experience in not like some sort of like ostracizing lens, like this patronizing, over the top, crazy gay thing, and we are like just people. We're just people. You know, some of us shop at Urban Outfitters and TJ Maxx. Like we're just regular. We're just like we just be vibing.
We just be Maxinistas.
Exactly. We're just Maxinistas. Yeah. But yeah, just like the overall normalization of it all, and like not making it such a point. It-
Also has to do with once one of us gets to a position of authority or leadership, we don't cap things off there, as so no one else can come after us. It's kind of, it's not even a crabs in the barrel situation. It's kind of like I made it, and so you have to pay your dues, and that's not how other communities work.
It's like, can we skip the dues? Can we
Right.
skip
Well,
the
it's,
membership
but
fees.
also, can we like help? Can we identify that there is another queer person here? Hey, let me like take you under my wing. Let me help you out, because the more of us that are at the top, not just here, the more of us that are at the top, the more that we can, I think, make those decisions, like have decision making abilities to then move strategies forward.
Love to hear it. Now, we're going to be in our quick little rapid fire questions, and then we're going to open up for a little bit of audience questions before we have like a nice little mingling time and close out. But for my panelists, I have a few quick questions for you all. Now, I want to just get some quick little thoughts in. What have you been watching or reading or seeing lately that inspires you?
So I just came from the American Black Film Festival in Miami with GLAD last week. I don't know, y'all. The weeks are merging at this point. And there was this thing called the Queer Lens Brunch. And my dear friend Alexander King put on her short that's called "And Then There Was Her." And it was about a trans woman who fell in love with a masculine presenting queer woman, which is not something you ever see in media. Typically at all. I think a lot of the times they go with the typical queer love story. So for me, a lot of things that are inspiring me are my peers. I love cross communication. I love cross, just community. I love being able to look at people who I know are like, she funded that short herself. She shot that herself, edited it herself. And at the end of the day, she's like, I'm putting my work out there, whether or not I have, a team behind me or I'm doing it by myself. So I'm truly inspired by like my peers more than anything.
That little pump fake. um, yeah, so I guess my peers as well. My boss, Miss Maria Roman, she just came out with a movie called The Trans Tale, and she in the movie that so the movie's about her on her trans journey and her being like the first person to get married in this big cathedral in Los Angeles, right? And at some point she was talking about her life escorting, and she was talking about her surgery journey and how she felt more validated every time she got like a surgery, and she was chasing this idea of invisibility as a trans woman just to be considered a quote unquote real woman. And I didn't think I would resonate with just being invisible, like the comfort you must feel, like just passing, like waking up in the morning, like knowing no one is ever gonna assume that you're the opposite gender must be such a huge weight. Because I mean, ever since I came out, like that's all that I think about. That's all I fucking think about. Um, and I have suit, like drag has become this like crazy suit of armor that like I don't feel any way, like people can think of me any type of way whenever I'm like dressed just like this, even though this is who I am, you know. She's sickening. This is like $700. Like the one, like the one sickening. Yeah. But yeah, she talked about this invisibility, and that has just been something that's stuck with me this past week. And I really take inspiration from everybody in that coalition, because we all wake up with the same motivation, the same like fight fire to help people and to want to see each other thrive. And I've never been a part of any type of situation, any type of company with that level of camaraderie where everyone just wants to see each other grow. And oh my God, I could literally cry. I love those bitches so much. I hate them. They literally drive me crazy, but I love being there every day. I love going to my job and being there with like a bunch of a bunch of like trans people and trans and non white people. I just think it's amazing. I really am so happy there. Okay, here you go. Sorry. I love white people. I love you, white people.
Everybody say love.
Hi. So I'm working on a show called Wayne Brady, The Family Remix, and I'm really excited about it because I've actually been able to watch the entire series. And as a black man who, like, he came out pansexual, but you're able to see his thought process, hear his thought process, him talking to his straight friends about it, him telling his family about it, him talking to his father figure. He is divorced from his ex-wife, but they're best friends and they are co-parenting a daughter, but his ex-wife is dating his ex-dancer, and they're like all like this core four family. Like the family unit is queer. It's just everything about it is such a new and fresh take on the new American family unit. I'm happy to be strategizing the marketing for this one, but even beyond that, I see a lot of similarities between the way that I didn't necessarily feel like I fit into my culture and Wayne feeling kind of like a fish out of water and like rediscovering himself. And so catch it July 24th. Freeform and live. But I'm really excited about that. That's what I'm watching. Wayne Brady, The Family Remix.
This is not as much rapid fire as I thought, which is fine. Which is no. I'm going to tell you time for one last question. I think that's a hot take for me. People who inspire me or people who do wrong by me, like my shitty bosses I've had, my family when they make mistakes. I'm like, I'm learning how to be more humble and just better, and like how I want to treat people and show up for people, and like thank you people who have made mistakes so I can learn from you. Even if I don't agree with you, I have learned from you. Now my last question's a fun one. I think we talked about this once before, but what was your gay awakening? Cartoon characters, people, covers of magazines. This was a great one. We had our little Zoom icebreaker and we all met. So please.
I'm such a Disney gay. It was Aladdin. He was really cute. I want to be part of this whole new world.
Let's see. For me, it's a toss up. It's a toss up. Spinelli from Recess, because I was just like, that's me. I'm her. Smith. Yes. I was like, okay. Or Buttercup from Powerpuff Girls. Yes. Okay. All right. And it's 40 Spice. Honorable mention. Okay.
Oh, okay. Just stay with me.
It's a journey, y'all.
So, the horse from Spirit? No, the jawline? So sharp. Okay. Simba when he's all grown up in The Lion King. The hair, he looked buff. I don't know. They did something to me. I don't want to talk about it.
Cute.
Stitch from Lilo and Stitch.
The category is furry. Oh, I'm playing.
My on the cartoon note, mine was like Brock from Pokemon. You know, when you were a kid, you're like, they're different. I was like, why do I want to watch Pokemon? Danny Phantom.
I think Andy has a thing for jawlines, it sounds like. Strong jawlines?
Strong jawlines, little like parentheses, less than equal to signs as eyes. Can write with a chin, you know, like that whole 9 yards. But now it's time for our audience questions. We have a brief little bit before we conclude our panel. Does everyone have any questions for our panelists, I can run the mic to you
Yep.
if there's a burning question. Well, actually, well, would you like to run? Or you want me to run?
I got it.
Yeah, Christy.
Oh, you want me to pick? Okay.
Oh, I'm just running the mic.
Okay, question up in the front here. Find the gap.
Hello, I just want to say thank you all so much for just sharing your stories and being so authentic and honest. And I'm curious to just kind of hear how you guys navigate those dark and rainy days. As you said, sometimes the sun doesn't come out. And I know it can be really tough just to keep going, especially as creators. So I'm just curious how you guys navigate that.
I was quick to that, but I have a quarterly breakdown. I don't know if anybody else has this, but I program it out of like when I know it's coming, I'm like, it is happening, and it's just burnout. And it's like when I know it's happening, I'm like, I hit my friend up, I'm like, Patrick, where are you at? I'm on a park bench, and like this thing set me off today. And he's like, you're fine, but I'm coming. And I think now that I've known, like, I am just susceptible to like some sort of burnout in a way that gets me really emotional. I'm like, once a quarter, and then like the next 3 days, I'm like, serotonin is pumping. And I'm like, wow, you're so much better than that other day, but nothing was wrong. And you just like go through this cycle. And I think I just lean on my friends, at least for me, really.
So I mean, this answer probably would have been so different like 6, 7 months ago. But I mean, I had the privilege, the honor to get to work with some of the most brightest trans minds like ever the country has to offer, and we help so many different types of people and so many different types of lives come in and out of our office. And I remember whenever I was like struggling, uh, like last year, whenever I didn't get like the pride that I thought I was gonna get, and oh, I couldn't buy my Prada bag, oh, I couldn't buy this, oh, I couldn't, whatever. And to see people really hungry, really not having to be able to put clothes in their bags, not being able to support themselves when it comes to their health, you know, like they don't have any resources to like be able to get tested for HIV, and think literally there's across the board, people have so many different problems, and being trans is such can be such a hindrance and such a burden on these people. And we have to like find within ourselves to wanna help, wanna be better for them. And to answer your question, all I have to do is look around, and I know that I have to be better, not only for myself to keep myself going, but for everyone that comes into our office. Yeah.
So my answer is going to be, I don't know, maybe slightly annoying. So bear with me. I truly believe in looking at everything with the glass half full. And I think for me, that takes me away from being able to be truly at my gloomiest. In a way, I don't know if it's a way to protect myself. I gotta unpack that still with my therapist. So bear with me. But I truly think that there's people who are going through bigger struggles. I'm very blessed. I get to wake up every day. I'm able-bodied. I don't need for much that I can't, provide for myself. So it's just hard for me to stay in that headspace, because I feel like I also don't operate as my best self when I'm down there. So I always try to find a way to get myself back up. And sometimes, like Pink said, it's just looking around and being grateful for where you are and where you're at, being able to touch the ground and saying, like, I'm here. So yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, man, he took.
Got you. Any other questions?
Okay, so as I'm coming around on my way to you, this TV right here, we have a slideshow going after the panel. You will be able to also donate to the Trans Latina Coalition, who Pink has name dropped a few times. So use that QR code, and then also there's a petition for you to sign to help Indigenous folks. There's an IG account for you to follow as well.
My question is, in the realm of like kind of trying to keep things positive and the outlook on positivity for the future, where do you see pride in the future? Fast forward 5 years, 10 years, how do you see pride?
We were
in the future?
literally, Sorry, go ahead, continue. Sorry. I was so excited for your question because it's so, I don't know, I'm getting chills. We were literally just talking about like the political climate backstage and how things are changing and shifting so quickly, almost to the point where we can't even keep up. You know, Pink was saying that, like, we're just not even aware of some of the things that are changing, happening so fast. So I think now more than ever, pride needs to be something like a revolution, like it started. In a way, I know people kind of took pride for granted because we were comfortable for a long time, and people thought, oh, you know, it's going to happen next year, it's going to happen the year after that. We're being challenged on every aspect right now. So when pride comes around, we need to make sure it's our last. We out there, okay? It's like we've got to make sure that this is something that never goes away, regardless of who's in office, regardless of what's happening, regardless of what the country feels like. They're gonna know we queer, we out here, okay? Like they're gonna know that we are real people living real lives. And at the end of the day, that's what pride has to become almost. That's the only way I see it truly staying a safe space for us is if we never let it be something that changes.
Elmas.
Anybody else? Question?
So I'm gonna preface my question with a quick little anecdote. A friend of mine, good friend of mine from high school, passed away last year. He overdosed on drugs, and by the time they found him, it was already 2 weeks after. So they couldn't even have like a proper ceremony for him because his body was too decomposed. And for the record, I'll just let y'all know I identify as a heterosexual male. And we were friends in high school, but you know, one day he didn't come out until college years. But there was one time in high school we went to his house after school. It was like, come over, have pizza and stuff until you're ready to go home, whatever, right? And it was funny. We got to his place. He went to go get me something to drink. And while he was doing that, I found a pair of handcuffs in his room. I was in his bedroom, and I was like, "Oh, let me play around. I'm a class clown." So, I put them on. I ended up handcuffing myself in the back and lost balance, fell on the floor, gave myself like rug burn on my face. And then by the time he found me, I was like this. But that was in high school, and then he came out in college, and then, they found he overdosed, right? So the question is, how do we navigate through how much people associate partying and debauchery with our culture, right? Like I'm Puerto Rican. I like to, Puerto Ricans, and my my mother, like I grew up around people that died from AIDS, So I'm real close to it. How do we separate that? How do you navigate that, right? That they associate us with debauchery, partying, alcohol, and substance abuse, especially in 2024, when we're trying to get away from that. We're trying to detach from that because we know it's not good for us.
First of all, condolences to your friend who passed away. Okay. So I used to work in politics. I'm not kidding. First of all, let me tell you, I'm almost 40 years old, by the way. So I'm just letting you know. Yeah. So just so you know, there's like a timeline. I'm 38. So I my first job out of college was I worked in the United States Senate in a Democratic office. And true life. I worked for a a Democratic senator, and some of the calls that we would get in were from his right-wing constituents, and they would talk about queer people or gay people back then in 2008, 7, 8, with gay people are destroying the nation. And some of the misconceptions that right-wing media has put on queer culture is the notion that we are more prone to sexual deviancy and drugs and alcohol.
Shout out
When-
to Freddie Mercury.
When in fact, though, the rates of alcoholism and addiction are, if not the same, but like line standard to the rates of alcoholism for other cultures. So first of all, we have to, one of the things that we have to do is not necessarily look at ourselves from that standpoint. One. Two, because comparing yourselves, that's not going to get us anywhere. But two, we do have to do some introspection if we think that that is something that's rampant in the community. There are individuals who go through depression who do tend to lean on opioids or drugs and alcohol and addiction in general when they are going through times of crises. I'm not a licensed therapist, and so I'm trying to respond from, nor am I like a speaker for the entire community. But I do think that as individuals, we talked about like friends, right? Having your community that you're able to lean on in times of crisis, or being the community that someone is able to lean on in times of crisis, can be helpful for someone who is going through these crises. I can't pretend to have the correct answer here, but I do know that when people are going through things, they turn to vices. And those vices aren't necessarily the healthiest for them. But when they are surrounded by love, when they're surrounded by acceptance, and when they're surrounded by support, those vices tend to not be the things that they turn to in those times.
Yeah, I was gonna agree with Kelechi on all those things. It's hard when you have loss, and we have loss in our community frequently. It seems like we are reportedly, whenever things come out in the media about queer cultures, it's death, it's violence. The way we are reported and represented in the media then highlights and makes these assumptions of queer people in general. So, like Kelechi said, these are things that happen widespread throughout a lot of people's lives, and it's sad that we are construed these ways, or this is something that a lot of people can go through, and loss is difficult, change is difficult to just cope with it. It can be very difficult for anyone, and I'm really sorry to hear about your friend. Like it's difficult to process that, and also then have a story you have a little more closer to home with, and try to change that perspective of people, because obviously people want to pit the LGBTQI plus community as whatever label they can to, get whatever mission done, or so on and so forth. So we've had consistently things about us in the media, and unfortunately loss is not one of them that's, been one that's been shy of. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Thought I saw a hand somewhere in this region. Anybody else? Okay. I can't follow that though. I'm sorry for your loss. I first wanted to answer the question about my gay awakening, and I wanted to share mine with Kelly Kapowski from Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
I wanted to. I'm curious about each of your first queer love. If you could describe the first kiss that awakened your body.
And I have the mic. No. Okay. So I had my first boyfriend right before I transitioned. So like a year before I transitioned. And I was living here whenever we started dating, and I moved back home because that's where he was. To be with him, and it was amazing, hard. I cried, laughed, everything. He was literally everything to me, and I'm still not over it. But I know that just time heals all, and I'm gonna just keep pushing. I'm gonna keep pushing. But yeah, he changed my life, and he let me know. I found out so many things about myself, about my love language, my attachment style, and what I like, what I don't like in the bedroom, and that I will never do that shit ever again. I know I will never move across the country again. What the fuck was I thinking? um, but yeah, that was my. But oh, and I'm back, and I'm trans now. So I don't know. Yeah.
Let's see, mine was second grade. Yes, y'all. So I just knew, okay? I just knew for a long time. But I think for me, it was like trying to disguise it. I was like, I feel like I like you. But she was like, oh, but I have a boyfriend. I was like, okay, he can be our boyfriend. But I only want to hold your hand. Like she okay. Okay, on the weekend. Yeah, I was just like, yeah, we can have him be our boyfriend and then we can just all be together. So for me, that was second grade. Truly started the well, yeah, no, it started a little bit of everything. So I never had a boyfriend, weirdly enough. I just yeah, from second grade on, I was like, this is what I like. I'm gonna keep going. Yeah. No, no, no. The boyfriend he changed schools, so then I somehow ended up with a girlfriend. I don't know. I don't know.
Um, my first single is Forever Tonight, and I wrote a whole song about it. So I'm gonna keep identities. Right. Non-binary, nameless. No, they were lovely until we weren't. And see, therapy. Until we weren't. But I remember like like falling in love on the dance floor. It was like went out, met him, made out, did some things afterwards, and then we were like inseparable for 4 years. So yeah, and that came and went, but it happened. Yeah. What was it? I was gonna like use an epithet from Sondheim, but what was it? If life were only moments, even now and then a bad one, but if life were only moments, then we never knew we had one, right? So, like, that's how I think about that relationship.
What was the original question?
It's your first like real love.
Yeah, so angry all of a sudden. I'm bitching on stage, mad at hell.
I think love has been a weird word for me personally. Like I've had phases of my life where I was like, I thought I was in love. And then I experienced it. And then I was like, oh. And then to leave that relationship and be like, wow, I really learned a lot. But there's also phases in my life where I've been like, I feel like I'm an adult now. I have a car now. I can have a stable roof above my head. And there's been people who've come along my life and cared and wanted to be with me. I don't think I wanted to be with them the way they want to be with me, but it made me think like, wow, I must show up for these people like really well. And yeah, it's like love comes in different waves and in all parts of our lives and people come and go. I think there's that phrase of like you're gonna have two or three real true loves in your life or something of the sort. And- but but yeah, like I think everyone, it really just starts with yourself. And that's like where I'm at right now, is just trying to love myself a little better and like just take care of my time. So, but I think that's a good way to end on this panel. So I'm gonna hand it back to our house team. Thank you so much for everyone for listening to this beautiful conversation with this beautiful panel of people. So thank you so much everyone for coming. House team, I'll hand it back to you, unless that's it.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you to our speakers and our panelists. Please, we have still plenty of drinks. We have a Pride playlist that Christy and I put together. So, and Kelechi is on it. So, okay.
Gas us up.
Look, Art, Come on, ally. Come on, y'all.
Also, shout out to the allies who
Yeah.
showed up.
Come on. Yeah, come to the stage. Come on. Come on. Hey, come on. Let's do this. Yeah, come on to the stage. Come on. Come on, y'all. Come on. Come on, y'all. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Let's do this. Yes, everyone. Come on. Yeah. There we go. All right, we got a couple more. We got a couple more people. Get some more people on this side. Let's get some more people on this side. Let's get some more people on this side. There we go. All right.
Fill in the gaps
Fill
for
in
the
the
family
gaps.
Christmas card.
Hit it.
Oh my God! I got with the professional camera. Hold up! Do this right. Do this right. Thanks myself a filmmaker. No, that's selfie. Yeah, I'm not into my kids. Yes, you know this. Oh, okay. Go. I got something like fashion.
Hey, thank you, everybody.
Can we get like the
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, Christy.
No,
Yes.
no. It's 7.
Take one.
I'm trying to end this. Yes. Do you want to grab this? And thank you.